Welcome to Compass Control Professional C1 Plus online certification. This is part 3, where we're going to take the next step now in our modular version 2.0 programming learning curve, and we're going to do a larger system than before with multiple displays and multiple zones. This will be following along with the bar restaurant demo in the Compass app. So you can follow along by downloading the Compass app onto your iOS device, and we'll walk through and build that system as it is in your iPad or iPhone. The project consists of 5 scenario buttons, and these are going to be a little different than the part 2 video where we programmed the conference room, because these scenarios more or less just allow the user to enter different zones. So entering the bar to control the audio video, entering the dining room to control the audio video. We're also going to deviate slightly from the demo in the iPad or iPhone, and we're going to add one custom scenario that will be for power controls. Within each scenario, we will have our contents that will provide the needed controls. For example, if we were to enter the bar, we are able to break the displays into 2 groupings, north and south, just to keep things concise for your user. Please demo the iPad or walk through the demo project within the iPad to see for yourself what we mean there. We are also going to deviate a little bit from the demo app just by abbreviating the amount of displays in the north and in the south areas of the bar and some of the other zones of the system. Instead of going 8 per area, we'll break it down to 4. You'll see more on that in a moment on our system design. This project will use 3 of the 4 content types. We're going to use the multi-zone device now, where we'll see we'll have the ability to control within the module space. We'll see multiple outputs of our video matrix, multiple inputs of our video matrix, as opposed to the AV endpoint that we used in the presentation conference room demo in the previous video. We'll use, of course, single device for controlling the cable boxes and whatnot, and we'll have custom. Now, this again is going to be one more deviation from the demo, where we'll have a custom content button for power of a area of the bar restaurant. So again, it's on you, the AV integrator, to ensure that you're well organized ahead of time, because your programmer relies on you for the information. This system is an 8x19 video system using our Enterprise AV over IP KDIP 1080TX, 1 per source, and KDIP 1080RX, 1 per display. So 10 transmitters, 19 receivers. We use a network switch as the center point of that system, but the principles would apply even if we were to use a traditional video matrix. We'll be controlling 8 DirecTV boxes via IP, which allows us to reduce the amount of control ports needed from our master controller. We'll have music streaming from a Denon Hios player. We'll have our master controllers, once again, 3 of them, because they are 7-port controllers, and we have we have 19 displays that we need to control via IR in this case. We'll have our audio matrix, so you can send an audio source from one of the video sources or the music streamer into a zone. It's a matrix, not a DSP, but that's the part we'll use, the KDMAX 8x8 here. And controlling the video over IP system is as easy as just using an IP address from a master controller. Of course, there's additional setup steps for Enterprise AV over IP. We do have videos and documentation available online, so reach out to our technical support team. We're happy to get those resources in your hand. And we have lighting from, once again, very important partner of ours, Lutron, where we first will extract an XML report from the Lutron repeater so that it can be imported into the Compass system. So let's go ahead and program this bar restaurant system. Open Compass Navigator and log in using your C1 certified credentials. We're going to do a modular project version 2.0, of course. We're going to browse and find the location where we desire to put this project and give a project name. In this case, I'm just doing C1 Plus Part 3 or P3. Project title and images. The title at the top of the iPad on the scenarios page, and the images that we want to use for our iPad and iPhone screens. We now can add our iPad. If we know the device ID, we enter it here and provide a name as well. Press the Add Controller button. On to our master controllers. If you recall, we do have 3 master controllers that are MC1000s with the IP addresses 1.21 through 1.23. Pressing the Add Master Controller button 3 times there adds it over. And for our Lutron, we grab the XML report that we've extracted from the main repeater following instructions we have on KeyDigital.com. On to adding modules, the devices that we'll be controlling for the system. We can choose IR, RS-232, or TCP/IP device types. The only devices that are IR, if you recall, are our televisions. In this hypothetical system, we'll say they're all Samsung. There's a bunch of them, 17. So choosing Samsung, most models as we see the icon, and choosing Add Device 17 times gets us what we need. Let's go ahead and switch it up to TCP/IP, where we have our 8 DirecTV receivers. Choosing the appropriate model, and actually in my experience all the DirecTV boxes have the same code sets. Adding it in 8 times. Choosing Denon Hios for our music streamer. Adding that device into the system. Choosing KeyDigital video switcher system and audio system. Here's the MAX 8x8 for audio. And for video over IP, it's a completely flexible system, but the module, so we have different module sizes. We have 8x8, 16x16. I'm going to do 32x32. Why? Because we have 17 displays, so that exceeds the 16 max of the 16x16 module. So we just add that in once. It's one system, even though there's many different endpoints. Individual endpoints become one system through setting up the units according to our guides on KeyDigital.com. Now we could head over to adding scenarios. And first scenario is the bar. Choose the icon, enter the name ID, that's according to the programmer, and the button text for the end user. Choosing the icon. Is there a select macro? No, there's not. I'm just entering a zone. However, when I enter the bar, I now get to choose my volume device, and the MAX 8x8 output 1 is going to power that and handle all of the preamp functionalities as well. And now what I'm doing as a little bit continuation from part 2 video is just copying and pasting, since the properties are essentially the same of all the other zones, just giving them all a unique name right now. Bar, dining, patio, private dining or private room. The entrance. And the 6th scenario will be our shutdown for power controls. So this is not on the demo app, but this is something that's very important for you, the programmer, to see. So now I'm going to go through and update all of the button text and images as well. the images for each button and choose the appropriate volume device for each scenario. So for the patio, output. What output of the matrix will that be? Well, according to our system design, that's output number 3. Oh, sorry, output number 4. Okay, yeah, things are just a little out of order, but we'll switch that around there. We'll move the private room above the patio. So the private room is actually going to be output number 3 of our audio matrix. I've already set that up for the patio, output 4. And the entrance no need for a select macro, just specifying that all volume controls within that scenario will go to our MAX 8x8. That's output number 5. All right, make sure we don't miss the shutdown here. Put the power icon, that will work for us. There's really no volume device in the shutdown though. So we don't need to choose that if we're not controlling volume there. Save early, save often. We now have built all of our scenario buttons, and now it's time to add the contents to each scenario. This is unique from the last project we did online. Now we're using a multi-zone device, bar north. So this is just going to be a grouping of multiple outputs of our video matrix system. And the north displays, where those are actually just outputs 1 through 4 of our video system. Also within the bar, we have bar south. That's outputs 5 through 8, if you recall from our system design. And we have another multi-zone device for the bar audio, where we'll have just the zones we need there. Really just one of the zones for bar audio. Choose the icon. All right, single device, bar music. And bar lights. If you're following along with the iPad in the Compass app at your office there where you're programming from or taking these courses from, choosing the icon as well. So now we have all of the contents buttons within the bar scenario. Now it's time to advance to scenario construction. And with multi-zone, unlike AV endpoint, we do the all. So here's our icon for the HDMI matrix switcher. So we're going to drag the all to the north and to the south, and through special programming later on in the video, we'll be able to filter the list of displays to only show us 1 through 4 for the north, 5 through 8 for the south, and output 1 of the MAX for our bar audio. Then in HEOS Music Streamer, to the bar music, single device, and the lighting. Just choosing, this Lutron XML report, it's generic. We have a generic repeater program here, so it's not going to be identical with the bar restaurant. So now we can continue to defining the contents of the dining scenario. Okay, dining displays, which are outputs 9 through 12 of our video matrixing system. Choosing the icon. So just building these button by button here, these contents buttons. We are going to have the dining audio, dining music, and dining lights that we need to build all these buttons for. Now, in the conference room example, we actually did some copying and pasting of single devices like music and lights. And we can actually do that here as well, but just showing, so always 1,000 ways to skin the cat, so just showing you the different ways to do so. Head on over to the construction, where again, for the dining displays, we choose all. It's important that you choose all for because that's going to show us the module of the matrix switcher, not as an AV endpoint, since it's a multi-zone, not an AV endpoint. Drag our HEOS and our desired lighting dimmer over. Save. We could advance on over to the additional scenarios now. So here we'll show the other way to do it. Patio is, private room is 2 displays. But again, we're just showing the module of the matrix, and later we're going to show you some special ways to filter the matrix module so it only shows you the desired outputs. Now we have video, audio, we need the music, so I'm just grabbing and right click copy, come on down, and right click paste. I click right before wherever I click and do my paste at, that the pasted item is going to come in beneath there. Now we have to give the desired names because, as we discussed, you have a everything needs a unique name in Compass Control. So some of this may begin looking familiar to you if you've watched the previous videos now, and that's a good thing. Looks like that should do it for our private room scenario. Patio has 2 displays also. Again, just copying and pasting. And we'll later filter the matrix modules to show us just the desired outputs, the respective outputs for each scenario, which is really more used like a zone in the bar restaurant demo GUI. Okay, now the entry only has 1 display. But again, if you're looking through the demo, bar restaurant demo in the Compass Control app, you'll see all of the contents when we enter that. They're all pretty much identical. You got video, you got audio, you got music, you've got lights. So let's update the names for each of these contents buttons. Now, again with the Lutron, our Lutron XML report doesn't match exactly what's there in the bar restaurant. So, but we could go on and do the naming now. entrance. Getting rid of the copy one at the end because these now have unique names. Okay. That's going to bring us to shutdown. Now this is going to be unique. You know, we want to kind of get you guys through the learning curves and give you examples of the things that you're going to be confronted by and want to do when doing this system. So we're going to, instead of calling it shutdown, we're going to put a few power options in here. So I'm just going to call it power instead. And this is going to be full of custom contents. So these are going to be buttons there in the contents list that aren't necessarily going to show us a module yet, but we are going to actually have it jump us to a custom page. So we'll show you that, and that should be pretty exciting. For those of you looking for custom programming, you'll get a little glimpse of that here in this video. So, you know, this power scenario is going to be, you know, it's going to configure the bar restaurant in the morning and turn it off at night. These are going to be like presets for the staff, management staff, or even anybody should be able to use this ultimately to come in and configure the establishment the way they need with just a single press of a button. So we'll have an all on, we'll have an all off. But you know, some zones like the patio, maybe in the wintertime, should not be included in the all. So we'll make a separate power button for the patio. And we will do the same for the private dining as well. Patio on, patio off, private dining on, private dining off. Okay. So on to the next step here, where we will establish our controlling flow tree. Now this one's going to have quite a bit going on, but first things first, drag the iPad over to the controllers area. And for each of my 3 master controllers, I am going to give them a unique name. Doesn't have to be long. MC1, MC2, MC3 works just fine. Dragging it over, we see the ports that are there. And one by one, and then I'll just kind of change the order there, because you just drag these things, and wherever that black horizontal bar is where it's going to drop them into place. So now I got 1, 2, 3. We've got our iPads. How about all of our devices that are controlled over IP? We just drag them on over to the IP devices area, starting with our video matrix. And the IP address of the video matrix, that's just going to be one of our master controllers. If you've watched the videos on how to configure enterprise AV over IP, you know you have to have, for the IP 1080s, you have to have one master controller with the project file loaded inside. Go ahead and provide our IP addresses to the MC1000s, 1.21, 1.22, 1.23, exactly as we discussed in our system design walkthrough. Let's move our MAX 8x8 over and give it its IP address. Denon HEOS was 1.20 according to our system design. And keep in mind, Denon HEOS, according to the module manual you should refer to, also requires a HEOS account be set up. And if you enter it here, then you don't have to enter it in the iPad GUI. Let's move over our DirecTV boxes controlled over IP. Saves us money by not requiring us to pick up an extra master controller this way. And I'm just going to give it a abbreviated name. DTV1, for example, DTV2. And we have to also come back around to enter our IP addresses for these devices. And you can see the properties. The IP address property of the DirecTV looks a little different from the others. It's because it's controlled over HTTP format, so it's kind of like a web address actually. And our Lutron 1.25. All right, save the project. Let's now drag these televisions over. So this bar restaurant system is going to have discrete on-off control or even additional controls of each display by having a single port for each, off of each master controller running an additional cat wire to each display. We'll be able to get control over there in addition to IR from the, IR control in addition to video signals over the IP 1080, requiring 2 cat wires total now. But give these abbreviated names so we know what we're dealing with here when we later turn these things on and off on our all on and all off macros. So now 14, TV 15. Remember, we have 17 total here. Oh, so I maybe have an extra. I could get rid of that by choosing it and just hitting the backspace key. All right, let's drag these over. One by one they go to the ports. We'll just send them over to Master Controller 1 for displays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We could collapse that. Master Controller 2 for TVs 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Very good. Collapse that and drag these over one by one. So, you know, these things take a little bit of time, but not very long at all once you're used to it. Wait a minute. I deleted a television and I shouldn't have. So we hit save. It's as easy as just hitting add modules and going to IR, choosing Samsung once again. Now we got a new one. And this will be our TV 16. Drag that on over to port 4, and there we have it. Okay, mistake there. So TV 17, all connected, all of the 17 displays to 3 master controllers. Again, flow test is totally optional. What is flow test? You could choose a device in all your trees here. And if you want to choose a command and test a command by hitting that play button, and it will come out of the master controller if it's an IR or RS device, or if it's an IP device, then it just goes right over the network. So you'd have to be on the network with the device. Now, I said it earlier, but I didn't do it. Let's go ahead and enter the IP addresses for the DirecTV receivers. IP address 192.168.1.11 through 1.18. Just to show you some of the things you might find yourself doing from time to time to not have to go so far across the screen. You could drag your workspace around, and I could even create presets out of the workspace layouts that I manipulate here by using that floppy disk at the bottom center of the screen and then choosing layouts number 1 through 8 if I want. I'm not going to do that right now, and please do not save over layout number 8. That one's actually quite useful, but all the others, feel free to write over. Okay, we compile the project now, and we can see all of our pages here. Here's our scenarios page. And again, the compiled file is for the iPad to work with, so we don't really see all of our buttons there. And, this is what it looks like, the module for the IP system. We have, 2 columns, outputs and inputs. And this is going to be a list that will populate with all 17 TVs and all 8 video sources. Okay, and we'll show you how to enter that and show the appropriate thing there shortly. But first, let's build our all on power macro. Remember, we built those custom buttons, power all on. So this is going to be turning on every display in the bar north, bar south, dining. We've elected to exclude the patio displays, which are 13 and 14, and private room displays, which are 15 and 16, from this macro. But we will include 17 for the entrance. So I just chose one, power on and TV 1, and now I'm just duplicating with Control D. And then I come over here and I just choose my other display so that I can power it up. 1, 2, 3. So just choosing, by having IR here, this is just a list of every single IR device, which is really just all my televisions in this system. So 1 by 1, 8, 9, okay, 10. Now, right now we don't need it because these are unique devices, but if I were sending multiple commands right after the next, one after the next to the same device, I would use delays, but Compass Control naturally has a 0.003 second delay, I believe, a 0.003 of a second delay between each event handle already in there, so don't need to add it in. What else do we need to do when we power on all the zones? Well, we want our video switchers, probably the switching system, to, let's say they want it to just go TV 1, select source 1, TV 2 to select source 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, then starting over again, 5 to 1, 6 to 2, etc. So we have this command here called set output X to input Y, and it has 2 parameters. Parameter 1, X, is our output number. Parameter 2 is our input number. So I've done that. I duplicate. Now I've got 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 going to 3, 4 going to 4. And in the KeyDigital world, we typically use two characters, so 0, 1 instead of just 1. But actually the IP system does support just a single character. So now, but because this is communicating to one control gateway, our master controller that we entered as the IP address, I do enter a small delay here. And we have more than 4 displays, of course, so let's continue building this for displays 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we can see here 1 through 4, and now let's begin again. 5, selecting 1, display 6, selecting 2, display 7, selecting 3, and display 8, selecting 4. How about 9, 10, 11, 12? That's our dining. Sure, let's add those in. Could select the top, hold shift, and select the bottom of the range to grab a bunch of items and add to my clipboard so I could paste them. Okay, 8 was on 4, 9 on 1, 10 on 2, 11 display 11 watching source 3, display 12 watching source 4, 13, 14, 15, and 16, recall, those are not going to be in our system because they are the patio and private dining, so we don't want those to be turning on in the winter or if there's no event happening in the private dining, so we just get to go 17 back to 1. So now we have all the TVs turning on and our video routing switching around, and I'm just going to add a command for our audio matrix here. I'm going to bring it back up to the top. Why? Because all of this is happening over the network. It's essentially instantaneous. So I don't have to wait all the way at the bottom of this sequence of events, all go into our video switcher here. Let me throw this up at the top since this is a different device. We're going to say, we're just going to set all of our volume levels, or excuse me, all of our audio zones to select input 8. Okay. So now we're turning a recap, turning on all the TVs. We've done all of our video switching, and we're setting our audio zones all to listen to input 8. What is input 8? It's the music streamer. So we're going to listen to music in all the zones. And what else should our audio matrix do? Well, we don't want it to be blaring in the morning, right? Perhaps the DJs were in the night before and they left the audio system really cranked up. Let's make sure that this volume level is reasonable here, okay? And with the MAX 8x8, I mean, all the devices out there will behave differently, but this device does unmute when you change the volume level. So we got output 1 set to volume 15, output 2 volume 15, and output 5 volume 15. So that's the bar, the dining, and the entry. Okay, so we're, again, excluding patio and private rooms, video and audio. And I want to do one more thing here. Call me crazy, but it does not hurt to add, basically double up on all of our discrete power on commands just to make sure those TVs were all received that command. You know, when it's not when it's a discrete, when it's not a toggle command, it doesn't hurt to do that. So, you know, this is a way to make sure you know, again, the bar restaurant staff have no you know, they could reduce all their time that they normally would have had to configure this. So now let's go to the all off. I've just copied and pasted a bunch of line items here, and I'm just toggling my command over to off now. Drag my workspace over to save my wrist and forearm some work here, and have much closer proximity to the drop down. Choose my device, change my command. Choose my device, change my command. Now, we don't really need any video switching on the power off, because when we power on the bar, or you know, the bar restaurant again, it's going to switch. So don't really need that. What else is in here? We got our audio matrix. So powering off, what do we want the audio matrix to do? We probably want all of our zones to be muted. So let's change up this command here. We got all outputs, all output mute on. That looks right. And yeah, I guess that's really all that we need, isn't it? Copy that and double it up. Why? Again, these are discrete commands. Even the mute is discrete. Doesn't hurt to do it. You don't want to leave any audio zones or displays on overnight, right? So we've done our all on and our all off. Let's now complete the rest of these custom buttons. Just going to copy and paste a short little few line items here. Patio is outputs 13 and 14, so TVs 13 and 14 of our system that we're going to power on. We'll say that display 13 watches source 1, display 14 watches source 2. This is actually an audio matrix command. Sorry about that. We want, for audio, we want our audio zone to listen to music. And we want the volume level at 15. Since these two commands are going to the audio matrix, let us put a delay. And now we want TV14 to switch to source number 2. Copy these. Patio off. Power off. And all we really need to do is mute the audio zone. There's the command for output 4, mute on. And again, just double it up. Private dining is our outputs 15 and 16, displays 15 and 16. And we want our zone 5 to listen to music of our audio matrix. And we want zone 5's volume level to be nice, conservative 15. And our display 16 also to watch source number 2 now. Okay, and private dining off, TV 16, TV 15, mute the audio output of the matrix, and double up. Okay, these are our custom power macros. And if you recall, next on the agenda is going to be something that's going to actually be pretty advanced. Let's see here. You know, we just shut down the system. So what we want to do is create a new page. So just here in the edit system, we have the second window with our pages, and I hit that small blue plus to add a page, giving it a name, power down, custom page. So when I hit power, you know, we're going to tell the customer, hey, sit tight, this thing is powering down. Give it 15 seconds and or 20 seconds or whatnot, and you'll have that. So now in the third window here, my page designer, small blue plus, to add a text element. I'm going to choose Open Sans font, which is the one we use mostly in this GUI. Here's what my text value is, what it says, and I want to make it multi-line. Use Control plus Enter to insert a line break. It's a little old school that way. And you see the property auto size. That's what's going to, it looks a little weird on the programming PC. However, on the iPad, it'll look fine. You see powering down, it'll say powering down. So I'm copying and pasting, adding a new text here, but this text I'm going to give a special name. I'm going to call it text timer power down. Why? Because this thing is actually going to be a timer. It's going to count from 20 to 19, 19 to 18, 18 to 17, so on and so forth, all the way down to 0. So in order to make a timer, I need to add a variable. So anytime I add a variable with the small blue plus here, it goes to a project variables. I select the property for timer, and I'm going to give it a name, timer power down. Okay, so this is a timer, and because it's got that timer property, it's counting in seconds and it always counts downward. I'm going to add an event to this variable called change value. So anytime it changes from 20 to 19, 19 to 18, 18 to 17, this graphical event is going to occur that on my power down custom page, that text timer its value, in other words, what it tells you, what it reads as, is going to be set equal to the value of my variable. So I just created a loop essentially. On the variable controls the value of the text, and the text is always referencing the value of the variable. Now that's happening every time the changes, 20, 19, 18, 17, etc. This is what's called a timer event, which means when it reaches 0. So I'm going to add a page jump here. Page jump with the document and the green arrow jumping out, and it's going to jump us to our custom power off page. So now, what are we doing? Whenever we press this power off, it's going to set the timer to 20 seconds. And setting it to 20 seconds will make it begin the countdown. So I put it on all of these off macros. Okay, so every one of them gets the event where it sets the variable to 20, because the timer automatically counts down. It's a property of the timer. Now, just a moment ago, I made my page jump and I misspoke. It went to the scenarios page, so you'll see that. The scenarios page is our home page, if you will. Okay, so it's going to, we want it now to lead us to this power down custom page, right? This is where we want to go. So we've done that, and now we want to address the next thing, which is this listing. And on the right, or on the left rather, we have all of our outputs. Now, if you follow along at home from video 1, or video 2 rather, excuse me, you know that we look at the module manuals to learn things about how to use some of these things and customize them. And in our module manual, it teaches us how we edit the name so that we could start to see, North 1, North 2, North 3, North 4, etc. Except for this is not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to save your project, right-click the device, here we are, the video switcher, and choose Edit Module. So this is more learning curve in content for you guys. And when we edit the module, see, here's our module, and it's designed around the modular 1.0 GUI, but it fits fine in the modular 2. And we go to the variables, and we see module variables. And here's programmer, because we want you, the programmer, to manipulate this, output names and input names. So we'll start with the output names, come over to the properties, hit that ... ellipses, and here is what we're going to do. We're going to enter the name as it is, as in a user-friendly way. North 1, North 2, North 3, North 4, South 1, South 2, South 3, South 4, etc. According to our system design. And then because this is a 32 by 32 module, and we only have 17 displays, then 18 through 32, I'm just going to leave as an empty value so the end user doesn't really see anything there. So we'll continue this. North bar, south, the dining area. After dining was our patio, 1 and 2. Then private 1 and 2, and the entrance display. Oh. Okay, so as said, just double click in here, hit the backspace key, and your users will not see these. And go all the way to 32 and hit OK. And then we'll move on to our inputs, where really they are just DirecTV 1 through 8. That's all it is. Dot, 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 ellipses. And instead of saying input 1 through whatever, they're going to actually give the user-friendly names now. DirecTV, DirecTV 3, DirecTV 4, but input 8 of the video system, DirecTV 8, and we're going to have to repeat this for our audio matrix next, which will be a little different on that 8th input. Clear out all the remaining cells. Okay, wonderful. So now that we've done that, we're done editing the module. I'm going to hit save a few times here. File exit will return us back to our project. There you are. Looks familiar, right? And if I look at the module there, we could see those values have remained, and now it's gray, meaning I can't edit it because it's a module. It's supposed to be protected. But we also need to repeat this for our audio matrix, adding the inputs and output names. So you'll just get to see this one more time. Right click, edit module, come to the variables, and there they are, input names, output names. So zone 1 is bar, well, I guess would it be bar north or bar south? I guess just the whole bar, let's say. And really, again, that's up to you, the installer, and following your system design, right? So output 2 will be dining. And, you know, this, I might have crossed up a few things here. In all honesty, you guys may have caught that now. Again, it's really important to refer to your system designs and make sure the installer, the programmer, the designer are all on the same page. Okay. 5 audio zones. And 8 audio inputs. And for our 8th input, we will have the music streamer connected in. MAX 8x8 actually can have a total of 16 inputs connected. So you just reach out to KeyDigital's tech support team to learn how to fully utilize that. This keeps it simple for the demonstration purpose. We save the changes we've made to the module and do file exit to return to the project. And now the columns of outputs and inputs for both the video over IP module and the MAX 8x8 module will have the appropriate names populated in the screen. So what's next for us is to, we actually, you know, I didn't think about this earlier, but when we press these scenarios, we actually need to
we need to actually have macros on these scenario buttons. Whereas previously I'd thought, I'm just entering a zone. We actually do need to create macros by pressing each scenario so that when we enter a scenario and we look at our module for video and audio, we only see the appropriate displays and zones available to us for video and audio respectively. Additionally, I'm not only creating a selection macro for the scenario button itself, but then toggling in and out by pressing video, pressing audio. I'm also going to create so that, if I toggle one button to the next, the appropriate, just making triple sure that only the appropriate television names or audio zones is visible for us. So we're going to go in now and choose create by name on each scenario plus, what is the multi-zone buttons for video and audio within each scenario. And, this is an instance of something that will require that we recompile our project after making these updates because, we need to compile in order to end up with our variables in the modular macros or scenario macros listing. And anything that affects the GUI or what happens when I press the GUI, we ultimately need to compile after. So we've added those macros, select macros, and again, we look at the columns there, the output, list outputs it's called, for each, for the TVs, for the IP, video over IP module, or for the audio zones for the MAX module. And here in our scenarios macro, we've now added our select macros for the scenarios or the contents within the scenarios. So here on the bar select, I press that bar scenario button. On the IP922 page, that element called list outputs, I want it to only show me 1, 2, 3, 4 because these are my north displays. I got to close that off with a comma. And I want my audio to only be set to number 1 because that's output 1, the bar audio. And so now I'm just going to copy, paste. And for south, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you see here the event in action is a property name list. So it's kind of like a mask of your list. Only show me certain values within the list. So instead of having all 32 there in front of me and having to drag my finger to see only the ones I want, this gets rid of all the others other than, in this case, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And again, close it off with a comma and the audio zone 2. Copy, paste, come over to now the dining area, now the private room. For video is my displays 4, for audio is displays 4, and for video is displays 15 and 16. So here's 15, 16 only for private display select. Audio for private is zone 4. Patio was my outputs 13 and 14, and it is audio zone number 3. Again, just referring to our system design. Patio displays 13, 14 only, or patio audio. So these are when I press the contents button within the patio. And lastly, we have our entrance, which is display number 17 or audio zone, audio output number. There you go. So these, by pressing the scenarios buttons or the contents within the scenarios, it's actually going to graphically make certain element or list, the naming within these lists invisible and only show us the respective TVs or the respective audio zones. So before I upload this, as we instructed in the part 2 video, just to save time on my iPad and whatnot, I'm going to just set all of my IP addresses to 0.0.0.0 because I do not have this equipment live in front of me here. And that includes my master controllers as well. Okay, and now it's time to upload to my iPad. Going up to the server. And next we're going to test it out. You know, in my testing, I realized one thing. When I press the power off, I am not jumping to that custom power page. So here's an action on my power off buttons to jump us in. So it sets the timer and it brings us to that page so we could actually see that timer going down now. 19, 18, 17, etc. So this was something that I had missed earlier, which is fine. That is going to be something that happens in your programming and your experience there. Another thing that you may want to do is add a iPad or iOS device that is only to showing a specific zone. So this is an example of this. We're going to add a new controller in there with the unique device ID. And when we choose that, we see on the right here the properties. These are what scenarios you want to view. And we drag it on over. And this is yet another example of a time where we will need to recompile. And now we could see these two variables in the scenarios macros, the ID number, where we see out of 6 potential scenarios, we're seeing them in the positions, and then the 1 and 2 positions on the other iPad, that is the iPad only for the private dining. We just want to see the private dining zone entry plus the power panel if we wish. Really whatever one you want there based on the checkbox property of the iOS device. We can enter the settings of the Compass Control app, choose Projects, Load from Server to initiate and complete the load process. Gives us the blue Start button, and now we're able to view our bar restaurant GUI programmed in the C1 Plus method. We see the 6th scenario for power in the bottom right. Now, remember, you will have GUI only mode even if you've zeroed out the IP addresses of your devices. So take a look at the screenshots from my 2 iPads, one with the 6 scenarios and the other, which has been dedicated to the private dining only, has just the 2 scenarios, private dining and the power options. And we could see the additional customizations that we've done, such as the list masking, where the south area of the bar only has the appropriate displays shown, and where we press our all off button, which jumped us into our custom power page, and we even see the text element for the timer counting down from 15 to 0.